Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose here with Jessica Bun Bun. If it looks like we are on Cloud Nine, it is because we are. They just put out an Only Murders in the Building Season 4 trailer, and we are here to break it down. We have been obsessively looking for this trailer for weeks.
Oh my God, I have been on the Only Murders in the Building Instagram, like unhealthily, just like refreshing over and over and over again for weeks.
Yeah.
Where was the trailer? Like, finally it's dropped. I'm so excited. We have been waiting for the show to come back forever.
We got so lucky, guys. We saw this like 30 minutes after it was released. We just so happened to be in the studio already. We were just like, okay, we're just going to watch this a million times, make a bunch of notes, and then we're going to talk all about who killed Sazz Pataki.
Yeah. And if Sazz was actually the target or not. Was it Sazz or was it Charles? There are so many suspects already.
Mhm.
So everybody get your tinfoil hats on. We are ready to get into this trailer. Everything that we have combed through. We looked at that murder board for so long. We have pulled out so many interesting notes out of it. So hit that subscribe button. We are going to be here every week throughout the whole season, bringing you 3 videos a week. We're going to bring you a review, a preview, a theory every week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and you do not miss out.
Also, here at the channel coming up, we have Slow Horses, which also ironically released a trailer earlier today. I am so ready to go back into Slough House and all of those crazy people. So look forward to that as well. And you can support us further for just $5 a month by joining our Patreon. We have a link in the description below there, and you can vote on polls as to some other shows we're going to be covering.
Yes, and thank you so much to everyone who has joined our Patreon. It really helps us to be able to continue to bring you videos like these. Okay.
All right.
Let's get into this trailer, because the biggest question that we have coming out of this is not just who killed Sazz, but was Sazz actually the target? Because it might have been Charles.
This is where I'm landing on all of this, and not to make too many huge, bold theories less than 3 minutes into this video, but I feel like Charles was the target. To me, this is a show that needs to mix things up every season, do something that's totally different than before, and having a murder victim who is not supposed to be the murder victim is interesting, especially when you guys have done this bit time and time again about how Jane Lynch and Steve Martin somehow look identical to everyone in the world of Only Murders in the Building. That is the ultimate payoff of it, that Charles was supposed to die in this.
Yeah, I mean, going into this season where the person who was supposed to be murdered is one of our trio definitely shakes things up.
Yeah, and then it also gets into this idea then of, okay, if Charles was supposed to be the victim, why is someone out to get him at this point?
Okay, tinfoil hats on, everybody.
All right.
Let's just
It's just
get
gonna
into
be
all
there.
this. Okay, so here's a wild one.
All right.
So if it's somebody who is looking to have Charles dead, somebody who wants him dead is Jan. And Jan has been brought back season after season, even though she's been in jail, and she's in jail.
Yeah.
I mentioned last season the idea that the fact that they've been bringing her back so much, I was kind of like, are they going to have her somehow get released, or she escapes, or maybe she hired somebody, because she's already tried to kill Charles. In this trailer, when you look at like their murder board of people who have it out for Charles, Jan's number 1 on that board, and she's just number 1, of course, on the show. And the show loves her. I love her. I mean, she's so funny, right?
Yeah.
But would she have hired somebody, or is it possible she's escaped? There was this tiny bit of the trailer, tiny, quick, if you blink, you miss it, of who could be the actual sniper on the other side. I mean, their apartments are right across from each other, if we remember. They used to, like, you know, play their instruments across the Arconia together. It was so cute, right? And it seems like the shot has come from over on where Jan used to live. And there's this quick shot in the trailer of somebody, a thin person, a small person who's all like dressed up in like flowing pants, you know, a little bit of a crop top, a little bit of belly showing, holding this gun. So is it possible that it was either Jan or Jan has hired somebody? It's possible.
Yeah, it's something we can't rule out at this point. And I think what makes the idea of Jan as a potential suspect already interesting is that she could be a suspect for Charles, but she could also be a suspect for Sazz, because we know that she and Sazz had a little bit of a romantic dalliance, shall we say, while Jan was already behind bars. That could have gone south because there's so much about Sazz we don't really know, because Sazz, for
Yeah.
the most part, has just been a joke on the show.
Yeah, and that was one of the other things on this murder board was what's the connection between Sazz and Charles? Who has connections? They have the Jan connection
Yeah.
and they have the cookie connection from way back in the day when Sazz robbed Charles of cookie.
Yeah, so they're going to play around clearly with that idea a little bit. I mean, there's certainly this question as well of, okay, is the trailer trying to give us clues, or is the trailer trying to troll us? Because I had this idea, it's like they put the sniper in here. What if this is just a reenactment by somebody as to what's going on? I hope that's not the case. I hope that we actually got a real clue in here, but time will tell.
Here's the thing is if they bring back someone like Jan,
Yeah.
who is like a first season killer, I feel like it could be a twist that no one really sees coming because, they've already had 3 women killers. Every season we've had a female that's been behind the murders. Yes, I understand that also Cliff was involved in the killing, which was really just an accident,
Yeah.
but Donna was the first person to try to, poison him. So we've always had women that are involved in these cases and have been behind a lot of what has happened. Do I want to see the 4th season, recycle this again where it's like, all women are crazy, all women are the killers? Like, I'm just not interested in that. I would like to see it be someone else. But I think because a lot of us out there are expecting that they're really going to try to change it up, where it's like, maybe there'll be a male killer. Maybe it won't be an accident because clearly somebody's over there with a gun. This isn't, necessarily an accident. It's an accident if they killed the wrong person, but they were clearly either hired to be there or they were just there and they were doing it on purpose. This wasn't like, oh, we're having a tussle and I fell down the elevator. You know what I mean? This is on purpose.
Yeah.
So let's have a male killer come in here, guys, please.
I feel like there's a good chance at the male killer. I also feel like there's a good chance that whoever did this because it is something that's longstanding and personal. And if I'm going with my idea that Charles was the target, then I think that this is a season where we're going to learn a lot more about Charles and some things in Charles's past that may be pretty unseemly, because you're not going to do something that is this premeditated, as you've already spelled out. This is not something that was spur of the moment here, unless you have a legitimate reason to do it. And also adding further fuel to the idea that it's Charles, like that was the target. Are you really going to set yourself up over there to get rid of Sazz when you don't even know if Sazz is ever going to be in that place, unless you were somehow tipped off that Sazz was coming or you were tracking Sazz's whereabouts? Like, you're going to assume that that is where Charles would be. Like, we'll talk a lot more about the movie that's being made about the trio and all of that other sort of stuff, but I kind of hope that a lot of that is a smokescreen or something meant to distract us from what's actually going on.
Could we see Andrea Martin back? Could she be over there trying to kill him off? I mean, it wasn't that nice to her. There's also the Scott Bakula connection.
Oh, here we go with Scott Bakula again.
Listen, I know he wasn't in the trailer. He hasn't been announced as being part of this. Maybe he's a surprise and that it'll be, the rivalry that's, the Brazos Scott Bakula. Okay, it's not really
you
that.
are living on Scott Bakula Island.
I know. I have on so many tinfoil hats for Scott Bakula. It's not him. But, how fun would that be?
If it is Andrea Martin, is she actually going to do it with a shovel like she does over on Evil to some of the demons that are over there? No, I think that there's a lot of suspects that we already know from Charles's past. This is an opportunity to explore it more. We're going to be seeing a little bit of Charles's family at some point, because we already knew Melissa McCarthy was going to be on this season and, much celebration with that. But she's going to be playing Charles's sister. And at some point, it seems like they're going to visit her because she is a safe house. And
a dollhouse. What
Yeah.
is going on in her house?
I kind of feel like if I went there and I saw all of that going on, I would request a different safe house. I would just be like, can we go stay with Theo? Can we go stay with literally anyone else?
Listen, I am a doll collector. I'm not a doll collector like that, but
Okay,
I
yes.
I know that doll collectors always have this like creepy reputation. We are all not that creepy, but like, oh my God, Charles's sister, I'm a doll collector, and I was just like, Charles's sister is taking it to a level that nobody needs to be there.
Yeah, there's a couple of preconceived notions on this show in this trailer where I'm just sort of like, okay, not all people are like this. Not all doll collectors are like Melissa McCarthy. Not all people with an eye patch are necessarily evil or villainous. Like we see.
Like Amond over on House of the Dragon.
Yes, as somebody who only has one working eye, I want to see some of these people
Oh,
actually be good sometimes. I'm already
you're a
worried.
good one,
Thank
my
you.
guy.
I hope Richard Kind is also a good one. We see him in here. He's got an eye patch. We saw him on
Yep.
the whole murder board. He's got some sort of like weird nefarious name. It is Vince Fish, which sounds like an assassin's name.
Yeah, so on this murder board, there are 4 names of people that they're kind of like could be somebody.
Yeah.
They're names of people we haven't run into yet. There's Alfonso, there's Inez, there's Anna, and there's Vince Fish,
Yeah.
who is Richard Kind with his eye patch.
I know the temptation is there, not to just go back to evil again, to just have Richard Kind play these nefarious people because Richard Kind is probably the nicest, sweetest man who has ever existed, and you always want to play against type. Don't make Richard Kind the killer, please.
Well, here's the thing about it. Like, I hope that you're right and that who we saw in the trailer in those really snazzy kind of hippie bell-bottom pants with the gun is not actually whoever the killer is, because now we know what their frame is. And if that's actually the killer, then it's not Richard Kind.
Yeah.
The body types are completely different. But it could be Richard Kind hired somebody, right? Like this person could just be a professional.
It would be kind of funny if the guy who looks like an assassin isn't actually an assassin and has to hire somebody who doesn't look like an assassin at all.
Yeah.
That could be the show mixing it up a little bit. Now, there's a couple other interesting things on this murder board that we should bring up, including that Sazz apparently has a desk out in LA, and this kind of does answer.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, it answers one of the bigger questions that I had is that, you know, they've been hyping up, okay, we're going to LA to have this movie and all this stuff is going on. But as far as we know, Charles is a character that's very sort of centralized to New York City. You know, his family grew up there. He's been living at the Arconia. You know, Oliver's there. And it kind of raised this question to me of, okay, is this whole going to work on the movie thing in LA a distraction? Like, is there anything that they're actually going to be doing there that could further to answer the mystery? The idea that Sazz has a desk out there at least tells me, okay, we're not just going to be just messing around in LA and not doing anything with the case. Like, there could be something substantial there.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that obviously we know that Sazz and Charles are working together, but I assume that she has been continuing to work, like do other things. So she's probably traveling around. I'm sure she's working out in LA. And the fact that she has a desk out there, absolutely. Is the movie going to be involved in this case? In some ways. I mean, we saw in the trailer the trio playing them are like, oh, there's a new murder. Great. Let's all work together sort of thing, because they're all trying to shadow their people to get to know the characters for this movie. I'm just going to say this right now. Like, here's my early beef hat, you know,
early. Okay.
Is an early beef hat. I don't like to have beef, but you know, yeah, I do. So here's the thing.
All right.
I don't want this to be another motive that has to do with content, because we already saw that in season 2 where it was about rivalry podcast with Poppy. Then we saw in season 3, it's about the play and what's going on with the play, more content. This can't be going into this 4th season where it's about the movie and it's about more content, and that the motive is all about, you know, podcast, play, movie. Like, stop. It needs to be something else. If it's about the movie and the movie's involved, I'm going to feel really disappointed by the end of it unless they really sell me on it.
Yeah, that's the sort of the thing. And there's another part of this that's adding to the confusion here a little bit is the timeline of when Sazz was killed versus when everything is going on in the movie, because we sort of hear this announcement that's like, oh, we have a case. And then you see Evil Longoria, who's playing, I guess, Mabel in the movie, sort of be excited by all of this. So they're already working on the movie when they find out that this case is going on. But we didn't hear anything about the movie last season. So when did they actually discover Sazz, or when is Mabel bringing this up in the context of the movie? There's a lot of questions I have about timelines and how this is all kind of working itself together, and I don't really have a clear answer to that, but I am fully in agreement with you on the I don't want this to be about content. I mean, you may be on Scott Bakula Island by yourself, but I am there with you on the don't make it about content island.
Okay, what if the timeline, I already have my tinfoil hat.
All right. Let's
what if the timeline is, because we did see where it ended last season, where Sazz was like, oh, I have something personal I need to talk to you about. Then all of a sudden she's dead. We all assume that she's dead. And, you know, in the trailer, it's like, she's obviously dead. Oh, we have another murder. Okay, she's dead. What if...
Oh, boy.
She wasn't completely dead and she was like being rushed to the hospital or whatever. I don't know. What if she was like on her way to being dead, and maybe that pulled out the timeline a little bit, like a coma or something like that, and then she dies?
I think they'd have to have some
that
sort
way
of way.
It kind of fixes the timeline thing a bit.
Yeah, because it's going to be a little bit hard if they kind of start this season off and it's just, oh, there was this stuff that happened before that we just never had a chance to see, and that's going to be a little bit bothersome, because to me anyway, it's going to be like, okay, well, you guys were so busy figuring out what happened to Ben and what happened with the play and all that. Like, where was the time for any of that? But, you know, big murder mystery, which clearly is the thing we're most excited about if we're talking about it for 17 minutes. But like, even that aside, there's so much to be happy about just when it comes to all of the people who are coming on board this season. Am I worried that I don't want the case to be just sabotaged by having a list of cameos, and I hope they figure that out. However, I love Eugene Levy. I'm very happy to see him there. I like that Oliver's mispronouncing Zach Galifianakis' name because he's clearly jealous of his career. That was all really, really good. It's obviously really nice to see Meryl Streep again. And before that was announced, I had no idea if that was going to happen or not.
This guest cast is massive. It's like one of the biggest guest casts they've had. And I mean, last season they had some pretty big names come in. Meryl Streep, Paul Rudd coming in, but it was still more sort of condensed into the play. This feels just massive, which makes sense because this is a huge movie out in LA, lots of people, whatever. I don't want to see what happened last season happen this season on a grander scale, which was my beef from last season. There was so much about this play that it felt like the murder was barely a part of the show. We had the trio wasn't really together investigating anything. All their concentration was in on this play. What was going on with the play? I was like, okay, I get it. The play is fun and great or whatever, but it shouldn't be taking center stage. The show is about murders in the building. Like, what happened with the murder? Like, let's get going. And they didn't even get back together as a trio until it was the second last episode. So this season, I'm a little bit nervous that this is going to be about the movie. Everything's about the movie. And with a huge guest cast like this, everything could easily get swallowed up by this movie where Sazz's death is going to become secondary. And I really hope that doesn't happen, knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. I mean, this is still a murder mystery show. And and
it's Sazz, you know, she's been part of this show since the beginning.
Okay, we are obviously really insanely excited to talk about this season. Like Jess said, we will have reviews, previews, theories every single week here at the channel. So hit that subscribe button so you do not miss that. Also, support us further, $5 a month over on our Patreon. We have a link in the description. Thank you guys so much for your support. It means the world to us. We'll see you here next time.